Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't believe in yourself, watch this. Not with your eyes, but with your soul. There comes a time in every person's life when they are called to rise. Not because someone gave them permission. Not because the world suddenly became fair, but because somewhere deep within a spark ignited, a whisper of greatness stirred and said, "This is not all you are." And maybe you've buried that whisper under years of fear, of failure, of what others have said about you. Maybe you've forgotten that greatness was planted in you before anyone had a say, but it's still there. And it's time you remembered. You see, belief is the starting point of all achievement. Not money, not connections, not even talent. Belief. Every empire ever built began in the mind of someone who refused to be average. Every invention, every breakthrough, every revolution began with a person who looked at the impossible and said, "I don't care. I'm doing it anyway." That kind of belief moves mountains, not because the mountain changes, but because the believer does. But doubt is a thief. It doesn't break down your door. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It says, "You're not good enough." It says, "Who are you to try?" And every time you agree with it, you shrink. You become smaller, quieter, more hesitant. Doubt doesn't need to defeat you in one blow. It wins through erosion, through hesitation, through delay. Every day you wait to believe in yourself is a day you loan your destiny to fear. Let me tell you something you might not have heard in a while. You were born with dominion, not defeat. Look around. No other creature was given the power to imagine, to decide, to rise above their circumstances. Lions may be strong, eagles may fly, but only you can shape your future with thought, word, and action. That is your power, and if you do not use it, you betray not only yourself, but every person who will one day need your light. You've been lied to. You've been told that success is luck, that some people have it, and some don't, that those who rise are born chosen. Let me destroy that myth, for good success is not luck. It is a decision to believe when there's no applause, a decision to show up when no one's watching, a decision to act on your vision when fear is screaming louder than faith. The successful were not spared struggle. They were just stubborn enough to fight through it. Understand this, your mind is a magnet. It pulls you in the direction of your dominant thoughts. If you constantly think, "I can't," then you won't. If you constantly think, "What if I fail?" then failure will chase you. But if you shift that voice, if you dare to say, "I am capable, I am worthy, I will not stop until I win," then your entire reality will begin to bend in your favor. This is not magic. This is alignment. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. And the moment you begin to believe, truly believe, everything around you begins to respond. Opportunities you never noticed will appear. People will begin to respect what you respect in yourself. The world does not believe in you first. It waits. It watches. It listens to how you talk to yourself. And when you believe with conviction, when your belief is louder than your excuses, the world will rise to meet you. Now, maybe you failed before. Maybe people have laughed at you. Maybe you've tried and it didn't work out. But I'm here to tell you that your past is not your potential. You are not your mistakes. You are not the opinions of others. You are not the version of you that gave up last time. You are this version, the one who is still here, still listening, still standing. And as long as you're breathing, there's still time to choose belief. The only permission you need is your own. The only validation that matters is the one you give yourself, and the only obstacle left is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't. So change the story. Rewrite the script. Stand up in your mind. Speak life into your vision. Begin again with fire, with clarity, with an unshakable decision that from this moment forward, belief is no longer optional. It is who you are. You are not here to survive. You are here to create, to build, to lead, to inspire. But first, you must believe. And if you don't, then let this be the last day you doubt. The world is waiting. Let it watch you rise. Belief is not just a feel-good idea or a motivational buzzword. It is the starting point of every meaningful achievement in human history. Everything you see around you that was created by people, Buildings, technology, music, businesses, ideas began first as a thought powered by belief. Before action, before strategy, before success, belief stood at the gate and asked, "Do you trust that you are capable?" Without belief, even the best ideas stay trapped in the mind. Without belief, no plan gets off the ground. Belief is the ignition switch for progress. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how skilled you are, or how many resources you have. If you don't believe in your ability to use them, they're useless. The most brilliant minds in the world have failed to act because they doubted themselves. And at the same time, countless so-called ordinary people have done extraordinary things simply because they had the courage to believe when others didn't. That's because belief does something powerful to the human mind. It awakens possibility. It lifts you out of fear and into focus. It replaces hesitation with determination. Belief doesn't guarantee instant success, but it does guarantee movement. And once you're in motion, life starts to shift in ways you couldn't see from a place of doubt. But belief isn't something that just happens. It's something you build, something you choose. It starts with one decision: I will not speak against myself anymore. Every time you tell yourself you can't, you're building a wall between you and your potential. Every time you say, "I'm not good enough," you give your future away. But when you begin to say, "I can, I will, I must," not out of arrogance, but out of responsibility to your purpose, then belief takes root. The world will often reflect back what you believe internally. If you walk into a room with confidence in your purpose, people notice. If you speak with conviction, people listen. That's because belief is magnetic. It moves things. It attracts support, opens doors, and turns resistance into resilience. People trust those who trust themselves. And yes, there will be moments of fear, moments of struggle. But belief does not mean you never feel afraid. It means you act anyway. You keep moving even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. You show up even when the voices of doubt are loud. Belief gives you permission to keep going when logic says stop. And that persistence is often the difference between failure and breakthrough. Everything you want to become starts with what you believe today. So if you're waiting for evidence before you believe, you've got it backward. Belief comes first. It's the foundation. It's the fuel. It's the invisible force that turns a vision into reality. Before the world claps, before anyone supports you, before anything makes sense, believe. Because once you do, the path begins to unfold. Doubt is quiet, subtle, and dangerously persuasive. It doesn't shout its way into your life. It whispers. It starts small. A single question: what if I'm not good enough? A pause before action: what if I fail again? These thoughts may seem harmless at first, just protective caution. But if you allow them to stay, they grow. They take root. And before you know it, they become a habit. A lens through which you view every goal, every opportunity, every version of yourself that dares to dream bigger. Doubt is the silent killer of dreams because it doesn't destroy them in one dramatic moment. It chips away at them slowly. It convinces you to delay. It tells you to wait until everything is perfect. It says, just be realistic. And every time you listen, a piece of your vision fades. Dreams don't usually die with rejection or failure. They die long before that, in the mind of the person who stopped believing they were possible. It's important to understand that doubt doesn't come from truth. It often comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. These fears disguise themselves as logic, as responsibility, even humility. But make no mistake, they are the enemies of progress. They are the voices that keep you from sending the message, from starting the project, from applying for the opportunity, from showing the world who you are. What makes doubt so dangerous is that it often feels rational. It's the voice that says, you're just protecting yourself. But in truth, you're not protecting. You're postponing. You're putting your future on hold because you're afraid to find out what you're really capable of. And here's the truth: you will never know what's possible if you let doubt make your decisions. Every great achievement was born in the face of doubt. Every creator, every leader, every success story had a moment, and often many moments, where doubt tried to take over. But they moved anyway, not because the doubt disappeared, but because they refused to let it define them. They understood something powerful. Doubt is a liar. It's a thief that steals your clarity, your courage, and your calling, unless you learn to recognize it and challenge it. When you allow doubt to lead, you shrink, you play small, you settle for less than you were born for. You convince yourself that average is safe. But deep down, you know better. You know there's more. You know that if you could silence that voice just long enough, something amazing could emerge. And you're right. You're not here to tiptoe through life, avoiding risk and hiding from discomfort. You're here to stretch, to grow, to break through every limitation, especially the ones you've placed on yourself. And that requires a decision to starve your doubt and feed your faith. It's not about never feeling unsure. It's about choosing not to let that uncertainty stop you. The truth is, doubt will never disappear entirely. It will always try to return. But once you learn to recognize its patterns, once you start acting in spite of it, you weaken its grip. And the more you move forward, the quieter it becomes. You have dreams for a reason. They were placed in you not as decoration, but as direction. Don't let the quiet voice of doubt drown out the roar of your purpose. Speak louder, move boldly. Dare to believe when it's hardest, because the only thing more dangerous than trying and failing is never trying at all. You were born with dominion, not defeat. That truth isn't poetic, it's powerful. It's not just a feel-good idea, it's a fundamental principle of what it means to be human. You were not created to bow to fear, to circumstances, or to the opinions of others. You were designed with the capacity to shape, to lead, to rise above. From the moment you took your first breath, you were equipped with a mind that can imagine, a heart that can endure, and a will that can conquer. That is dominion. That is your birthright. But somewhere along the way, that truth gets covered up. Life happens. People say things. You make mistakes. You hear no too many times. And slowly you start to trade your dominion for doubt. You start to believe that struggle is who you are, not just what you're going through. You begin to think that being stuck, small, or silenced is your fate. But it's not. Defeat is not your identity. It's a detour, not a destination. And no matter how long you've lived under its weight, you can choose to stand up and reclaim what was always yours. Dominion means power, not over others, but over yourself. It means you have the ability to control your thoughts, your actions, your response to every challenge that comes your way. You are not a victim of your environment. You are not at the mercy of your past. You may have been through hard times. You may have faced heartbreak, failure, and disappointment. But that does not define you unless you let it. What defines you is what you decide to do next. What defines you is whether you rise or retreat, whether you speak life or speak limits, whether you choose courage or comfort. Every person who ever achieved greatness had to face the temptation to feel defeated, but they chose instead to lean into the power within. They chose to see setbacks as setups, not stop signs. That same choice is available to you, right now. And you don't need anyone's permission to make it. You just need to remember who you are. The world may try to convince you that you're just one person, that your voice doesn't matter, that your dreams are too big. But Dominion says otherwise. It says you were made for more. It says that if you have breath in your lungs and vision in your mind, then you still have time. It says you are not finished. And it reminds you that you were never meant to crawl through life. You were meant to stand tall, to walk with purpose, to build something that lasts. When you understand that you were born with dominion, your posture changes. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop explaining your goals to people who don't believe in themselves. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never built for your greatness. Instead, you begin to move differently. You think differently. You speak like someone who knows that the power to shape tomorrow begins with what you choose to believe today. You are not powerless. You are not stuck. And you are certainly not defeated. That voice in your head that tells you to settle, to stop, to quit, that voice is a lie. You were not built to break. You were built to rise. You were born with dominion, and it's time you walked like it, talked like it, lived like it. The only thing standing between you and the life you were made for is the belief that you were meant for less. But not anymore. Not today. Today you rise. Success is not luck, it's a decision. That statement may shake some people, because we've been taught to believe that success is something that just happens to the fortunate. That some people are born into it, stumble into it, or get handed the right opportunities at the perfect time. But that's a myth, a comforting story people tell themselves to avoid the responsibility of rising. The truth is this success doesn't land in your lap. It is not gifted, it is claimed, it is created. It begins when you decide, truly decide, that you will not settle for less than your full potential. A decision is not a wish. It's not something you make casually or only when you're motivated. A real decision is followed by action, by commitment, by discipline. It means you've closed the door to excuses, and you've locked in on a direction that you will follow through storms, silence, and setbacks. Successful people are not the ones who never fail. They're the ones who decided that failure wouldn't stop them. They didn't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. They made a choice, and then they built momentum one step at a time. When you believe success is just luck, you hand over your power. You wait for circumstances to change. You wait for someone to choose you, for everything to feel right. But those who decide on success don't wait, they move. They act. They create conditions. They make their own luck through relentless effort, constant learning, and a mindset that refuses to fold under pressure. The decision to succeed is not made once. It's made daily. In the small choices, the hard conversations, the moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. You don't need all the answers right now. You don't need a perfect background, a massive following, or external approval. You need clarity and courage. You need to look yourself in the mirror and say, no more sitting on the sidelines. No more watching others live the life I want. I choose to rise. That is where success starts. It's not a mystery. It's not magic. It's a moment of truth where you say, enough is enough. I will create the future I want. There will be challenges. That's a guarantee. But the decision to succeed gives you a foundation stronger than fear. It gives you a reason to keep going when things get tough. It helps you push through resistance because you're no longer acting on emotion. You're acting on commitment. People who rely on luck give up when the road gets rough. People who rely on decision, they dig deeper. They don't hope for victory, they plan for it. You are not waiting for your chance. You are not hoping for someone to discover you. You are not gambling with your future. You are deciding right now that your life matters enough to fight for, that your goals are real, that your dream is valid, and that success, however you define it, belongs to you the moment you claim it with action. You don't have to know every step. You just have to take the first one and then refuse to stop. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. One group hopes, the other decides. Which one are you? Make the decision. Not tomorrow, not when things feel easier, not when everything is lined up now, because your life won't change until your decisions do. And once you decide, fully, completely, that you will succeed, nothing can stop you. Not time, not critics, not failure. The power is in your hands, always has been. Your thoughts shape your reality. That's not just a motivational phrase. It's one of the most profound truths you will ever come to understand. Everything you experience in your external world is filtered, interpreted, and influenced by what's happening in your internal world. Your thoughts are the architects of your perception, and your perception becomes the blueprint of your life. Before anything happens outside of you, it happens inside of you. What you think about consistently, you begin to believe. What you believe, you begin to act on. And what you act on eventually becomes your reality. This is why two people can face the same challenge and have completely different outcomes. One sees failure, the other sees opportunity. One is paralyzed by fear, the other is fueled by it. It's not because one is lucky and the other is cursed. It's because of the thoughts they choose to dwell on. Your mind is like soil. It doesn't care what kind of seed you plant. It will grow whatever you feed it. Plant doubt, and it will grow limitations. Plant fear, and it will grow hesitation. But plant belief, courage, and purpose, and it will grow action, momentum, and success. Most people underestimate the power of their own thoughts. They speak negatively to themselves, rehearse worst-case scenarios, and replay every mistake they've ever made. They let their imagination work against them instead of for them. But your imagination was never meant to be a prison. It was meant to be a preview of the life you're capable of building. When you learn to direct your thoughts with intention, you begin to build a life that reflects your deepest values, not your deepest fears. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about taking responsibility for how you choose to think through those problems. When you face adversity, you can ask, "Why me?" Or you can ask, "What can I learn?" That one thought shifts your energy. It shifts your focus, and that shift becomes the beginning of growth. Your reality expands in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. So what are you focusing on? What are you saying to yourself every day when no one else is listening? You don't have to be perfect at this. Everyone has negative thoughts at times. The key is not to let them own you. Notice them, challenge them, replace them. Choose thoughts that align with the life you want to live. Thoughts that empower, that build, that stretch you. This is how leaders think. This is how creators think. They train their minds to serve their purpose, not sabotage it. And the beauty of it is this: you can start right now. You don't need permission. You don't need ideal conditions. You just need to become aware, and then decide to think higher. Talk to yourself like someone you believe in. Visualize success like it's already happening. Speak life into your day before it even begins. Your mind is your most powerful tool, but only if you learn to use it, instead of letting it use you. The thoughts you nurture today are shaping the future you'll wake up to tomorrow. So protect your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. You have dreams to fulfill, lives to impact, and purpose to walk in. Don't let toxic thinking steal your time or shrink your potential. Choose thoughts that lift you, because when your thoughts rise, your life will rise with them. The world believes in you the moment you do. That's not coincidence. It's cause and effect. The energy you carry, the way you walk, speak, move, and create, all of it flows from the belief you hold about yourself. You can't hide it. You can't fake it. People may not be able to put it into words, but they can feel it. Confidence is magnetic. Conviction is contagious. And the moment you start seeing yourself as someone capable, someone worthy, someone who has something to offer, the world begins to mirror that energy right back to you. But here's the truth. The world doesn't hand you validation first. It doesn't beg you to believe in yourself. It waits. It watches. And when you decide to rise, it responds. When you carry yourself with belief, not arrogance, but quiet, unshakable certainty, you change the way others see you. Because they're not just watching your talent or your resume. They're watching your presence. Your inner certainty gives them permission to trust you, to invest in you, to follow you, to support you. That's why so many people wait for the world to notice them and end up stuck. They're hoping someone will discover their potential, validate their worth, make the first move. But that's not how it works. You go first. You have to believe in your dream before anyone else does. You have to speak with confidence before anyone claps. You have to show up, even when no one's watching, even when no one's cheering, even when it feels like you're walking alone. Because that's the moment the world starts to pay attention. Belief changes how you show up. When you believe in yourself, your voice carries differently. You take risks. You ask for the opportunity. You say yes to the challenge. You stop doubting your place in the room. You start creating your own table if you don't get invited to someone else's. That belief becomes a force. And eventually, that force begins to move people, to move opportunities, to open doors that doubt kept locked. You don't need to wait for a title, a trophy, or a following to believe. You need a decision, a choice to stop disqualifying yourself based on fear or comparison. a refusal to keep rehearsing your insecurities like they're facts. You were not born to beg for permission to be great. You were born to own your uniqueness, to live your truth, and to lead with purpose. And make no mistake, people can tell the difference. They can tell when you're playing small. They can tell when you're holding back. They can tell when you don't believe your own words. But the moment you flip that switch, the moment you decide that you are enough, that you are capable, that you are ready, that's when everything begins to shift. The world isn't waiting for perfection from you. It's waiting for authenticity. It's waiting for you to show up fully, to stand in your story, to own your voice. And when you do that consistently, with conviction, the world starts to reflect your own belief back to you, through opportunities, support, recognition, and impact. So if you've been waiting for a sign, for someone to validate your potential, understand this: you are the sign. The moment you believe in yourself deeply and truly is the moment the world begins to respond in kind, because the world will believe in you the second you do. The power to transform your life has always been within you, not in the opinions of others, not in the circumstances you were born into, not in luck, but in your decisions, your beliefs, and your willingness to act in the face of fear. You were born with dominion, not defeat. You were born to shape your world, not be shaped by it. Your thoughts are not just passing ideas. They are the foundation of your reality. What you think, you become. What you believe, you create. Doubt may whisper, but belief speaks louder when you choose it. And success, it's not a lottery ticket. It's a choice, a daily commitment to rise, to persist, to push even when it's uncomfortable. If you want the world to see your worth, you must first see it yourself. Walk with certainty. Move with purpose. Let your vision guide you, not your fears. Because the world begins to believe in you the very moment you believe in yourself. So stop waiting. Stop holding back. Stop playing small. This is your moment to rise, to claim the life you were meant to live. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now. Choose belief. Choose growth. Choose the path that leads you to your highest potential. Because once you believe, truly believe, there is nothing you cannot achieve.